Happy Tuesday to you, everyone. Are you hungry? Are you hungry for knowledge? There you go. We're still continuing on my little mini-series on canine nutrition, trying to learn a little bit better about what we can feed our dogs, how much we should feed our dogs, how much should there be in their food with regards to the 6 primary nutrients, things like water, carbohydrates, protein, fat, minerals, vitamins. How much should they have? Very confusing world out there, no matter where you turn. Man, I have been doing tons and tons and tons of research on this because, as I alluded to yesterday, this is not my strong area. It just isn't. I'm one of these guys that, honestly, I just don't even pay that much attention to my own diet. I do watch out for things like sodium intake and fats and stuff like that. I want to be lean and mean in my older years and be able to hike up mountains when I'm 70 years old, 80 years old. So I want to stay in shape. But at the end of the day, I'm not real picky about it. I just have never been that way. In fact, in the military, eating was a luxury. You had about 2 seconds to eat your food, and you had to get back to work, and then when we're out on missions, you're eating these things called ready-to-eat meals, MREs, meals ready to eat, all these sort of things, and it was, So at the end of the day, it's energy. It gives you energy, and you can move on and continue to do other things in your day. Same thing kind of goes for dogs. Dogs like to eat. They dive into their food, especially if it's good food. And we just got to make sure that we're feeding them something good because they can't make choices like I can. Their choices are kind of made up in what they'll do on their own if you leave them unattended. Yeah, they'll probably go around your house and consume things that have no caloric value, but have a lot of value when it comes to paying a vet bill. They can become harmed by picking up things in their mouth, ingesting these things. They can go out in your yard. They're going to explore. Young dogs will explore just about everything around them to see if it has life-sustaining energy. And just to see, what can I do with it? Again, object play can morph from object play straight into object eat. And then that can morph into veterinary visit or diarrhea. Man, I just tell you, feeding is part of owning a dog. We have a little puppy right now. She's 12 weeks old, and we're feeding her 3 times a day. And yeah, we're kind of scratching our heads going, okay, what do we need to feed her? I know what the breeder was feeding her, but we're in the process of kind of switching it over. Nothing against the breeder, it's just I find that young dogs need a lot of fat. They just need that for their growth because their metabolism is so high. So let's talk about some of that today. Yeah, just in a I can't even talk today. A real quick recap. Say that 3 times fast. Okay, we're going to do a recap of yesterday just real quick. I think the biggest thing we established is that dogs are carnivores. And why is that important that we put that label on them? Is so that you don't try to turn them into vegetarians. Dogs need meat. They need meat and they need fat. Their digestive system was designed for that. So that's why I like to put the label carnivore on them. They need a lot of meat and they need a lot of fat to maintain healthy bodies, to maintain their resting metabolic rate, their meal-induced thermogenesis, their voluntary muscular activity, maintain their body heat. We also learned that dogs will take whatever nutrients is in food. They don't give a hoot how much essential nutrients there are, non-essential nutrients there are. What they're going to do is extract from food what it is that turns into energy the first. That's what they're going to do the most, pull out anything. Well, does that nutrient provide me with energy? If it does, and I can only digest a limited amount of this food that I've just intaked, then I'm going to make sure I extract energy out of that first. That's the first thing I'm going to do, energy. Because again, they don't have a clue that you're going to feed them forevermore. They don't have a clue about that. So I need energy in case I need that energy to go get more energy on my own. All right, so we learned all about that. We also learned that dogs are capable of self-regulating when it comes to feeding. However, most don't. And the reason being is that the food is just too darn delicious. They can't pass it up. They just gotta have it. They just have to have it. I've seen it with my own dogs. I put down dry kibble. Yeah, they kind of eat. Then all of a sudden you mix a little wet in there with it, or a little chicken broth, or a little this, or a little that. And I'm telling you what, now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I just hit the food lottery, baby. And they're just diving into that stuff. They're inhaling it. Our dogs will consume their food every meal. You can set a watch by it. If I still have a dog eating 20 seconds into it, that's one of those, remember the rule of threes? That's the first thing I'm going with right there. Why is my dog eating so slow? Why did my dog even walk away from food? Boy, if that even happens around my household, we're immediately on a little bit of an alert system right then. So again, that only happens though because it's really palatable. They really, really like the food. Problem is, the more palatable it is, it typically is loaded with a lot of calories. And we'll get to that here in a second, which then means if you're not using up a lot of energy, because you're sucking in all that energy, well then where does that energy go? It turns into fat, and fat turns into obesity, and obesity is really bad for dogs. Okay, so again, those 6 main primary nutrients that dogs need on a daily basis. They need some water, baby. They gotta have water. Need water all the time. This is one of the main ones. Carbs, proteins, fat, vitamins, and minerals. Today, we're gonna go over 3 of those. We're gonna cover water, we're gonna cover carbs, and we're gonna cover fat. two of my favorite ones are fat and the carbs. I'm not so much about the water. But again, I do drink my share of water, just trying to stay healthy. But you know how it goes. I'm one of these people, golly. Like I said, I tried that 1-gallon jug thing. Oh no, you need to put some flavor in there. I need some palatability. Water by itself, I love it. During occasion, I love it when I'm out in the wild. But even then, I still carry these little crystal light things with me. Anything just to give the darn thing some flavor. Because otherwise, it just gets boring. But again, not for your dog. Okay, so what are some important things to know about water? First of all, your dog's body weight, about 70% of your dog's body weight is comprised of water. You have a lot of water in your body as well. You know, when I was in the military, our unit was one of the first units to test out the heart rate monitors. Yeah, they all had the old chest straps back in the days. You know, and they were super accurate, but before they really put these things out there commercially, they wanted to test them out and just see, are they accurate? Is it worth putting out? So I don't know how we got picked, but we did get picked to wear these. And I kind of learned something right then I never knew. So we go on these 5-mile runs, and we're starting off, and there's this targeted heart rate. Oh man, I'm telling you what, at the pace that they made us run, kind of like a little bit more than what's called a parachute shuffle. So you just kind of shuffle along. We couldn't get the heart rate up there. No, we were fit. We were really fit in those days, man. I'll tell you what. And we couldn't get it up there. We're going, man, why you set this target heart rate? We're never going to get there if we run this darn slow. Okay, what's a hot day? All right, 3 miles into it, we're sweating. And guess what? We're at the target heart rate, but we had not changed our pace one bit. Not one iota. And then by the time we're at 5, and then they even stretch it. They say, well, you guys are looking good. Let's go ahead and take this more. We end up doing a 10-mile run. I'm here to tell you, by the time we hit the 10-mile mark, sweating profusely, 100 degrees out there, I could have laid down and still hit my targeted heart rate. So that's what happens when you lose water. When you lose water, you lose blood volume. When you lose blood volume, the old ticker starts to have to work in overtime. Put a lot of strain on. So that's the one thing, and it's the reason why I do make sure I do get my adequate amount of fluids in my body on a daily basis. And I certainly adjust those if I'm sweating. And also during the wintertime where you lose a lot of that moisture out of your breath. You say all the time, I can see my breath. Well, that's water. So I do drink a lot, and I encourage you guys to do the same thing. And make sure your dog does. So how does your dog get water, by the way? It gets it from its food or from voluntary drinking. Monitor your dog. Make sure they always have access to fresh water, unless you're going through housebreaking with a puppy like we're doing right now. There are times where we do pull up the water, because why? We're trying to help the dog learn that going potty in my house is a bad thing, going potty outside is a good thing. But we do make sure the puppy has plenty of water throughout the day. We know how to do that, and again, a lot of that is common sense. But just kind of know this: dry food contains about 7 to 12% of the total makeup of the dry food is water. 7 to 12%. Canned food, on the other hand, or wet food, that's why a lot of times it was called wet food, is about 70 to 80% water. I didn't even know that. That's how it actually got the nickname wet food. Not because it's moist and not dry. It's wet, meaning it has actually more water composition in it. So keep that in mind. If you're feeding your dogs wet food, then they might not go to the water bowl and drink as much. Feed your dog dry food, not unusual to see them going to the water bowl and drinking more. So that's the biggest important things about water. And like I put out yesterday, dogs have to have about 1 ounce per pound. That's average. Okay, so again, your dog goes on a run and it's hot outside, or your dog has been super stressed because it rode in a car, doesn't like riding a car, and they're panting. There you go, more water. If they're barking, more water. All these strenuous things will require your dog to have more water. So the 1 ounce per pound is taken into account just your average dog in a daily activities. And what they set that measure at, I don't have a clue. I couldn't find that anywhere. So I just kind of think like yourself. If you're an athlete and you take your dog with you on a run, you need more water, so does your dog need more water. So again, just kind of gauge yourself as well. Go off of that. All right, so that's it for water. Let's head into carbs. Carbs, okay, we all love carbs. We do. But I'm telling you what, those things are evil. They're just evil. You got to have them, but dogs don't have to have that many carbs. As long as they have a high protein and high fat diet, dogs don't need as much carbs as like what you may need. The one thing about carbs, a good side, there's good side, bad side. Good side, they're an efficient source of energy. They really are, and that's back in the day, man. I tell you what, when we used to do these what we used to call Monster Mash PT on Fridays, man, we'd load up on carbs. We'd load up, pizza, pasta, just putting it in there because we believed that would give us a lot of energy, and it did. But here's the problem. You got to do that math just right. You get that math incorrect, and next thing you know, you will have extra weight. I promise you that. It is an efficient source of energy, but only a limited amount of carbs can be stored. Keep that in mind. Only a limited amount of the carbs can be stored to be used as energy. When dietary carbohydrate is consumed in excess of the body's energy needs, most is converted to body fat. That's where it gets stored. In other words, it keeps a little bit in the carbohydrate nutrient storage closet over here. But then if that's not used and used quickly, then they're going to just turn it to fat. You'll shove it in the fat storage closet. And you know where that closet's located. Yeah, we all know where that is. Yep, that's where it's located. So keep an eye on that. It leads to increased body fat and obesity. Therefore, overfeeding a low-fat or reducing diet can still lead to increased body fat and gain weight. A lot of people don't think that. They put their dogs on this senior dog food or the reduced fat dog food or the diet dog food. Dog still gains weight. And now people are going, okay, what the heck's up with that? And you take the dog to a vet and the thyroids are fine and the dog checks out from a medical standpoint and the dog still gains weight because why? They're getting a lot of carbs, so definitely keep an eye on carbs. Most commercial foods and fresh foods have just a moderate amount of carbs in them, but you just have to watch it. Again, guys, feeding your dog requires you to pay attention at a lot of things, not just whether they ate the food or not, but kind of weigh your dog. If you have a little dog, hop up on the scales, weigh yourself, grab your little dog, hold it, hop up on the scales, do the math. Okay, so unless you don't want to know what you weigh, okay, then you need to put your dog on the scales or take your dog by the local veterinary hospital or somewhere where you can weigh your dog and keep an eye on it. Captain, he's a muscle plug. He's a 55-pound muscle plug. You guys have seen him in a ton of my videos. He's usually running around in here all over the place. And I have to watch him. His metabolism has changed. It changed a lot, I swear. I kid with everyone all the time. I said, Captain became an old man in one day. In one day. I mean, he was this young dog, young, fit, trim, boom, could eat whatever he wanted to eat like a teenager, 2 extra large pieces, it wouldn't matter. Man, like a teenager, he was staying fit. Then all of a sudden, one day I woke up and I looked at him and I went, dang, I got an old dog. He is an old dog. You see his energy, he got a lot of energy, but still, he's different. And because he's different, I'm going to be honest with you, that boy can gain weight like no tomorrow. I have to constantly monitor it. I'll take one look at him and go, oh man, Captain's starting to throw a little shade. Yeah, he got some shade going on down there. And sure enough, I'll bring him into work and I'll throw him up on the weight scale. Yep, he just gained 2 pounds. How in the world did he gain 2 pounds? I didn't change his food one bit. But I guess energy output, I don't know. But it does have to be monitored, especially when you have dogs starting to creep up there. But he's only 5. He's not even he's kind of in the prime of his life. But it just doesn't matter. We're all different. You know people who can eat anything. They can go to the donut shop and order 2 dozen donuts, eat them every day, and they won't gain a pound. And then if you even look at a donut, you just give it a glancing look, you just gain a pound. We're all different. Keep an eye on your dogs, guys, because obesity, I will tell you this much, again, from owning a veterinary hospital, being there in the thick of it on a daily basis for over 20 years, I'm here to tell you obesity creates a tremendous amount of stress on a canine body. It was never designed to be fat. Never, ever. And we made them fat. And that fat will kill your dog like no more. Do me a favor. If your dog looks a little thin, that's good. That's good. I'm not talking about seeing all their skeletons. No. I'm just talking like an hourglass where you're looking down on top, you got that nice little figure. Yeah, light is better, especially when they're growing and they're going to be a big bone dog. And that's one thing that we're having to keep an eye on our little puppy, is because you can tell by her forearms, her wrists, her paws, and of course of her lineage, looking at her parents and grandparents, taking the average size that they were, and we kind of have a little predictability when it comes to how tall and about how heavy and how much muscle is going to be on this young dog. And because of that, we have to keep her lighter. We have to make sure she has the right nutrients, but not allowing her to overeat and become fat, because that can, the consequences of that are lifelong when you have a young dog. Okay, so guys, keep an eye on the carbs. Again, we all like potato chips and stuff like that, but you gotta keep an eye on it just like you would do yourself. Sufficient source of energy can lead to obesity. Optimal is about 3 to 7% of the diet is carbs. So about 3 to 7% of the diet carbs. That's optimal. And again, use your brain, people. If your dog is stressed out, if your dog works a lot, when Captain's in the mountains with me and he's running up and down the mountains, up and down, he's doing it, and I'm going up and down with him, we both eat more. We do. I could write it down and just be like a scientist and write it down, but I'm here to tell you, we both consume more food and we consume more water. Just use your brain. If your dog's a couch potato because you've got to work for the next 5 days, your dog's not going to do anything, cut back just a little bit. Check the carbs on the back of that bag of dog food or whatever food it is that you're feeding your dog. Okay, moving on from there, just real quick, let's get into the fun part now. Now we say the best for last. Fat, baby. Fat is where it's at. I'm telling you what, fat is great. Fat, but it's the #1 energy source. Did you know that? It's the #1 energy source for your dog. It's fat. So guys, you're out there looking at your dog, you're going, okay, my dog's throwing some shade like Bryan said. I need to cut back on the fat. That's the first thing that we want to cut back on, but yet it's those carbs. They're the devil. The devil's in the details, and it's in carbs. The devil's in the carbs. Watch out for the carbs. Watch out. Because if you reduce your dog's fat, you reduce your dog's energy, then I don't burn any more calories. See where I'm going with that? Follow the breadcrumb trail. That's a good little example to use on a day like today. Okay, fat, #1 energy supplier. It is super, super needed for growth, so we're having to make sure that little Castell, our puppy's getting lots of fat in her diet. She needs that fat. And if you have a dog that is either stressed out or has a lot of physical exertion throughout the day, they need fat. Gotta have fat. Remember, I need energy just for those things that happen when I'm asleep. My resting metabolic rate, my thermogenesis, my body heat. I need energy for my organs to work. So gosh, got to make sure your dog has fat. Don't be taking out fat out of their diet so much. Watch out for that, because so many people do that. They think their dog is getting obese, and the first thing they remove is all the darn fat. No, they're not no keto diet type thing for a dog. They got to have some fat. Make sure it's in there, man. Make sure. Everything that I read, every person, the expert that I consulted with to do this, and trust me, I had to do a lot of that, because again, this is not my expertise, and they're all saying, fat, Bryan, fat, whatever. They drummed that through my head. Started making me feel good. I'm going, okay, well, so, again, that extra brown there and that Klondike bar or whatever, it's all fine. No, it's not. I'm not talking that kind of fat. Okay. All right, so let's get into it. So there we go. Low fat means low energy, which means low calorie consumption. is what that can mean. No energy, may not even have enough energy to do the task that you want the dog to do. Remember, training can be stressful. I don't care what method you're using, it doesn't matter. If you're trying to learn something and you're trying to study for a test, even if you enjoy the subject, it can still be stressful. Communication is stressful if you can't communicate properly. You're trying to learn. Learning can be stressful. And you just got to keep that in mind. Got to have energy. So you might not have a great performance in your training. Your dog may not be learning as rapidly as you'd like your dog to learn because it doesn't have the energy. It's just tired. It's always tired because you're not giving it the nutrients that it needs, especially in the fat category. Okay, also, problem with fat, okay, devil in the details, devil in the fat, is fat tastes good. Yeah, fat is delicious. And it's no different for a dog. Fat is great. I want fat. So you got to keep an eye on fat. Fats are number one energy supplier in the form of lipids and triglycerides. The triglycerides are the body's primary form of stored energy. In dogs, major depots of fat occur under the skin as subcutaneous fat around the vital organs and in the membrane surrounding the intestines. So you don't want a lot of that fat. You want a little of that fat. A little of that fat helps you survive. Push comes to shove, the apocalypse happens today. It's the people walking around with just a little bit of fat on them, that they can still be mobile, they can still work, they can still do things. They're going to outlast the person who's been working out like a fiend and has zero body fat. Oh no, they'll outlast them. They'll outlast them. The people with the zero body fat are going to be looking at the people with a little bit of fat and wanting to eat them. It's okay to have a little bit. We just don't want a lot. Times of high energy demand occur during growth. Listen to this, growth and prolonged periods of physical exercise. If your dog's doing that, they have to have fat. In addition, dogs who are working strenuously have been shown to efficiently and preferentially use fatty acids for energy. So again, if you're working real strenuously, you're going to burn a lot more fats. Most dry dog foods that are marketed for adult maintenance contain between 5 and 15% fat. Now again, those are dog foods designed just for maintenance. The average dog, whoever that average dog is, I don't know, because no one bothered to put that in here for me. I didn't get that far into details. So what is the average dog and what's the average dog's life? In comparison, the fat content of dry dog foods that are formulated for gestation, lactation, and performance may be 20% fat or greater. So all of those are high stressful events for the animal's body. Any of those. So just kind of keep that in mind. And last little thing is, although dogs are capable of digesting and assimilating relatively high amounts of fat, providing more fat than the gastrointestinal tract can effectively digest and absorb, will cause diarrhea. So watch out. And they use the example that, those table scraps, those treats. And man, I'm telling you, if you love your dog, I'm just not that disciplined. And I'm just being forthright with you. I'm just telling you the truth. If I get some French fries and Captain's got his head right here, he's nice about it. He's the sweetest and most silent beggar ever. He'll never paw you, never touch you. He'll just look with his eyes half closed. Yeah, he uses like a Gandhi approach. And I give him one every now and then. So I just do. He loves it. I love giving it to him. So what? I'm not going to kill him with that. And if a guy goes early, he's going to say, man, I had a darn good life. I love those French fries. So again, it's all about lowering my stress profile there, baby. Lowering my stress, man. And that's it. Keep my blood pressure down. Keep his blood pressure down. I'm okay with you giving your dogs occasional treats and scraps. Again, just be careful what you do. You feed from the table, and of course they're going to learn. So up on the top of that thing up there, where those bipeds are reaching up there, there's food up there. And of course, they're going to sit there now, want to look at you and make you give them some food, turn you into a vending machine of sorts. As long as you control it, I control the game. I control it. If I don't want Captain looking at me, I tell him, lay down. He'll lay down in the back of the car. If I'm at my house, he's looking at me while I'm eating, I'll tell him place. I control all of that. Just make sure that you can as well. But yeah, do I give my dog some human food? Have I paid the price for it on occasion? With diarrhea cleaning up? I have, absolutely. But that's how we learn, cause and effect. All right, so learn as well. I'm not going to be real picky on you guys on that because, again, I got to practice what I preach. And if I'm preaching, you don't ever give your dog table scraps. Here I am doing it. What does that make me? No, I give my dog some table scraps every now and then. I just do. I share my lunch with my dog. Okay, so just stay here. I just drew it like a little seesaw. Make sure the fat and the energy, make sure they're even. Just make sure they're even. Make sure that you're not giving more fat than energy, and also make sure you don't have more energy going out than fat, because you certainly won't have that. That'll equalize itself in no time. Okay, guys, so that's really it for today. Tomorrow, we're going to work our way down into those proteins and talk about that, because they're super important. Then we're going to talk about the minerals and these other things called GMOs. What about that? Everyone's like in this, I haven't heard a whole lot of it lately, but there was for a while there. I swear I couldn't go anywhere and I didn't hear GMO, GLOs, all this sort of stuff. Well, I'm just going to briefly talk on that. And then we're going to kind of wrap it up and talk about some of the harmful foods that we have. Oh, and also, just so you know, because a lot of people ask me, we will talk about raw food. I probably don't go 2 weeks that someone doesn't ask me my opinion on feeding a raw diet. So we'll try and get through all that tomorrow. If we don't, if I get through my research here, that list is way too long, and that video is going to be an hour long. No, I'll cut it down, and we'll do some tomorrow. We'll do a little bit more on Thursday. But either way, by Thursday, I'm going to wrap this thing up. I got a couple questions to answer, then I want to finish up here with the canine pharmacotherapy program and go over that, because it's really important. Okay, guys, if you got anything to add to this, send it my way. If I screwed up anywhere, if I made a mistake with any of these numbers or whatever, let me know. Put it out there for everyone to read. Again, this is not my area of expertise. I'm just doing my best to give you the information that I found, put it out there to you, and also just sprinkling in a little bit of reasonableness, a little bit of just real dog ownership. Make it fun, make it a little bit easier for you. And if you can do that, then again, it's all about lowering the blood pressure and having a companion and having a great life with your dog. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe out there. Take a look at the back of your dog's dog food bag and compare it to some of the stuff I put out today. See if it works. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Take care.